How you doing? This is Dane, JONAH Guitars. Just by way of introduction, the what you have here in front of you is my jig for truss rod slots and fretboard radiusing. Now, I initially had something different than this that just clamped down to the top for truss rods. Dave Rowe at Ewar Guitars was the first time I saw this configuration, and I thought it was a good idea, so I built one. L metal and aluminum. I initially started out with 2-foot pieces, so I bought a 4-footer and cut it in half. Used the same wood part and just replaced them with longer ones because I built a base a couple years ago for the GGBO. I mentioned somewhere else just a little while ago, like yesterday, on a comment somewhere that I had participated in that, and I didn't really get noticed, and that's fine. Sold the base, customer's happy. The contest wasn't about building something good. It was about building something weird or being really good at YouTube. I don't care. Anyway, the reason I'm kind of making this video, I've sort of already done a little snippet of this before, and NSJ Guitars, Neil, somebody I've been watching, and he's watched him build a few guitars, and he's a good hand, go check it out. NSJ Guitars, aka Scotsman. If you can understand the accent, it takes a little while, but you get used to it. Nice guy, and he does a lot of things that are really good, really, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? Natural, intuitive in his builds. So I enjoy watching him. One thing I was watching him do, and it was just hand sand a fretboard, and there's several people I watch that still do that, and I just tried to help him out and tell him that it went a lot quicker with a jig like this. So I thought I'd just go ahead and make this video. He may never see it, but I thought I'd make this video and just explain how fast this really is. And until just now I wasn't really thinking about actually doing it on camera. Just wanted to describe it and explain how it functions. But if I were to actually do it, then you would see how fast it really can happen. So typically, and now I thought about this before I started, I don't have a neck within reach. I usually process my necks before the back's been cut. This is an old neck blank that I started working on years ago. This is the Les Paul Jr. neck, and I used to do them differently, and I decided that it was much easier to get all the way through the fretting process before you actually cut your neck out of just a flat level block, because then you have to do things to make sure it's level. So I did have to spend some time. I used masking tape because it's 5/1007" thick, and leveled the board end to end with some blocks and masking tape to make sure the top is parallel to this. Now, when you're doing the truss rod, the router, I use a different router. The router rides on top of the neck blank itself, so it doesn't matter because it's in between the rails, and will just follow whatever angle the neck is on. So if you happen to have a neck that's not flat, it doesn't make any difference. But with this contraption, it rides on top of this, so this has to be level with the top of the jig, top of the rails. The other thing I did to make my life easier was I took a block that's the same exact length as the rails, and I center lined it, and I can just put it in here and tighten my bolts until I'm happy. So I have 2 little blocks of wood in here, one on either side to keep from digging into the side of the neck. And if you do it in a rough enough state, you don't have to worry about that because your neck is thicker than it needs to be. Generally, by the time I get in here, I've already sized my neck and my fretboard. So I usually use blocks, but not up and down. So then, that helps you find center here and here as well. And so that's bedded up because I was just trying to use a ruler, and my rulers are too long, so I would use a tape measure and bend it and all. So the block really simplified it. Anyway, I bought this router specifically for this job because my other router does not adjust as easily as this router does. And I like it says a screw on it. This is a Bauer. It's a Harbor Freight router. I used it for some other things, and it actually tends to heat up, but it works fine for this application, so I just keep it in the jig. I made myself a 12-inch radius, and I also made myself a 9.5-inch radius. Those are the two typical radiuses that I use. Now, once I have this radiused, I just leave it in here, and I take my 12-inch sanding block, 12-inch radius block, and I can just run that up and down, the neck to final sand the radius in. This is right on as far as I remember. The other thing I do when I'm doing this is I set a stop on either end, just so that I don't accidentally run off. Now that was a problem when I had shorter rails, but this is just so I know I'm past it if I want to lower the router a little bit, and just, so I know I've finished my pass. I get down here and I hit the other clamp and I know I've finished my pass. And I can go the other way. So the other thing to look for is the rotation of the router bit. And you want to rotate into the wood. So basically, I'm rotating this way. So I want to come from this end on the first pass so that I don't blow the edge out. Because otherwise, if you're rotating away from the wood, then you will blow that edge out, especially when it's slotted, and I already have this slotted. I like to slot my boards flat and square for that matter, because then they just go parallel into my jig for that. I don't like to have to slot them when they're tapered. So anyway, I am plugged in here, and I will turn this down. I don't have a hose over here handy, but I'm not going to bother with that. So I've already kind of set this up to where I don't know if you can even see it. Probably not, but I'm got a bit of a gap in the center, but I just hit just slightly on the edge. And so I'm going to eyeball where I need to be for that, fire this thing up, and make a pass. Now, I should mention this first too. There are some of these jigs out here that guys have got little roller wheels on, and they are basically this jig within another jig that's a carriage on top of this. That's pretty complicated. The only thing you have to worry about here is holding onto the edge of the thing and make sure that as you're running, you keep this little dolly straight, square to the rails. Now, you can get cattywampus on this thing, and as I do that, watch the router or the edge of this thing. It will rise up. The only thing that does to you is actually take your cutter away from your wood. So you can't possibly cut too deep, no matter what you do, as long as, you don't set the router too deep to begin with, but just saying. So you're just going to go this way, and then we're going to get down here, and we're going to come back here. We're going to hit the other edge, and we're going to go that way. So every time we get to the edge, we want to make sure that on this face, we're going that way, and on this face, we're going that way. For the router, for the way the cutter's turning. I haven't been choking all day, and all of a sudden, as soon as I turn the camera on, I start choking. Good old unsweetened tea. I just got back from about 10 days away. I remember telling people that I probably wouldn't make any videos while I was gone. Well, I didn't do anything. I was just kind of sitting around a lot. So I actually put 2 videos out while I was gone. And, yesterday, travel day in the airport and all that. This morning I drove back from Sacramento, which is about 3.5 hours north of Sacramento to where I'm at. Got home at noon. Anyway, did the yards, and got some lunch. Came back and I've been out farting around out here. What did I do? Oh, I trimmed. Let's not get into that. I trimmed the back on the acoustic. It's been sitting there all week that I was gone here. All right, let's do this. Stop talking. So anyway, imagine this compared to, back and forth on that, even if you hand plane the edges off first. All right, here we go. Oh, the other thing you want to watch out for is don't put your fingers underneath too far, because there is a cutter down there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I got these corners knocked down pretty good. Neil, if you're watching, think about how much of a sweat you would have already worked up getting to this point. All right, now, what I like about this particular little router is that I can flip this tab. Get closer, maybe you'll be able to see me. Get my hand out of the way. Flip the tab, and then just rotate this down a fuzz. And I'm talking fuzz because it doesn't take much. I don't want to be down to the deck yet. Actually, I'm already down to the deck, so let's just creep up on it again. All right, here we go. All right, so that was just my second bit adjustment. And I think I still have just a little bit of a flat right here. And I'm going to be checking to see what my height is, my overall height, because I might take it down until I'm closer to just a fat 1/4 of an inch thick here at the center. But just to give you an idea how rapidly this can go, I'm going to go ahead and right out here, I'm going to drop it down right to the top of the board. So now we're there. And one more time. Okay. I'll get my vacuum out and vacuum this up. So let's, all right, let's see what we are to the top of the board here. Well, there's no way that's almost a ½ an inch. I'll have to read that. Something's going on. It might be. I don't know. It was pretty thick. Anyway, if it's that thick, then I'm going to have to keep going. But you can see that with just 3 passes, I'm completely radiused. That took no time at all. I'm not sweating. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to look at this. Why? It's reading the 1/4 of an inch. What's going on? It's not on millimeters. 1/4 of an inch is 250, right? How come I'm reading 473? That is bizarre. Something's wrong. It's zeroed. Do millimeters should be around 6, right? 12. All right, now something has happened to my caliper because this is reading 12 millimeters. That's a ½ an inch. Have I lost my mind? Okay, I'm going to move this camera over here so you guys can see this because it says a fat 1/4 of an inch. And hopefully, can I get down in there? All right, stop. Takes a while for the GoPro to catch up. Can you read that? Enlarge your screen or whatever you have to do. That thing's looking at a fat 1/4 of an inch. Why my caliper is not reading correctly, I don't know. That is the strangest thing. Okay, I guess it's time for a new caliper, unless there's some kind of way to reset this that uses a different 0 than the 0 that's on here. The yellow button is 0. Put it back on inches. Oh, gosh. I keep forgetting that this weird StuMac caliper doesn't, you have to zero it from the bottom of the caliper first. Gosh, man, my brain just left me. Why you have to do that, I don't, because they got a notch where you can go over the fret, but a regular caliper, you don't have to do that to. You just push it down. So let's see here. 259. All right. Gosh, I just thought I was losing my mind. All right, that's it. Just a quick demo on this apparatus. The thickness of the board is just perfect. I'm just going to hand sand it in to where it's perfect 12-inch radius with my block, and then we'll be in business. So there you go. Thanks, guys and gals. And if you have any questions about this jig, actually, maybe I should just spend a couple seconds looking at the separate parts of the thing. This is just a box. I just made a box, and then I made these radius jobbies separate, and they just screw right onto the side of the box, and that's it. Nothing too terribly complex. As far as this goes, it's just a bottom piece that I left wide so I could put clamps on it or holes through it and screw it down the counter. I'm on top of my granite right now, so I just put a pad under here, and that kept it there fine. My clamps were actually getting in the way of my my radius jig thing. So, but you can see I just went a couple pieces up from the platen or the base and made myself a bed that was the exact width of my my other router that I did truss rods with, and it was slightly different. I used a different router initially, and then I decided to use another one, so I had to move my rail in a little bit right here because these were just flush originally with the side. Yeah, so I made a slight adjustment there. And then don't forget the handy dandy little adjustment block so you can dial it right in without having to have a really short little ruler. Okay, that's it. That's everything. All right, we'll try to keep this as fast as possible. Thanks for watching, folks. Share, like, subscribe. Thanks to the 80+ folks that came over to the dark side from Patrick's Adventures in the Shed. Shed of Dreams. I want to get this right. Thanks again, Patrick, for that shout out. I appreciate that. And take care, y'all. Bye.